Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of The Fiction Room. Today's writing prompt is brought to us by username A Random Cheese. The prompt is, Welcome to Hell. As the 7th human to ever arrive here, you are now an official member of the 7 Deadly Sins. Our first story today is written by Ecstatic and Insatiate. Ankara had not expected hell. Truthfully, he had not expected anything after death. Most of his fellow villagers spoke solemnly about the cave under the earth, the shadow place where everyone laid down to dust went to upon death. But Ankara always imagined that it was a story to make children feel better about becoming worm food one day. But now, he did find himself in some sort of cavern. Walls of scarlet calcite vaulted high overhead, surrounded by columns of immense stalagmites that looked like fountains of frozen blood. The room, for all of its vastness, held only 7 folding chairs and now 7 wild-eyed humans staring around at one another in equal bewilderment. "Finally!" said the man at the end of the row. His laugh was like an eggshell breaking. "He said we couldn't get started until we're all here! You took your good time dying!" "I'm sorry?" The woman to Ankara's left shook her head sadly. "Don't listen to him, darling. He's gone mad." She reached for the man beside her and squeezed his hand. "Been rambling the past 5 years we've been here." "Every minute," her husband agreed through his teeth. The man leapt, sputtering, from his chair. 30 years ago, he said to me that when every chair in this room was filled, he would return." Somewhere deep within the cave, a door boomed open. The humans all huddled in their chairs and waited, barely daring to breathe. A huge man strode into the room. His skin was liver red, and as his eyes scoured the 7 horrified faces, fire flickered back at them. His clawed feet clicked as he stalked back and forth before them, silent and appraising. When he licked his dry lips, his tongue flicked out, forked and thin as a snake's. Ankara wished he could melt into his chair, melt through the floor. He gripped his seat with both hands, squeezed his eyes shut, and waited. Finally, the great demon spoke. His voice boomed out, "Congratulations!" He traded wary glances with the others. "You are the very first mortals to come to hell. And really, we're just so excited to have you on board. Your life histories indicate a history of skepticism and aggressive self-interest. We really value those qualities here in hell." The woman beside Ankara leaned over and whispered to her husband, "What is this? This isn't Kerr." "You're right," the demon applauded her, his wickedly long claws catching the scant torchlight. "This is hell, and I am your eternal tormentor. You can call me Beals. And my friends, we are going to transform it into something revolutionary, something global. I have something here that will hook every mortal heart that yearns and yet is never fulfilled." The demon's peppy smile returned. Ankara watched his incisors gleam and flash, sharpened bone big as his middle finger. What do you mean, exactly?" asked the jumpy man at the end of the line of chairs. First to arrive in hell, apparently. "Eager to get started. I like to see that." The demon reached into the empty air. A chair generated in his palm. He turned it around and sat in it backwards, gripping the chair back and inspecting them one by one. "We believe that sin is the key to really monopolizing the mortal soul market. Get someone hooked on just their right kind of flavor, and we have them booked for life. Right? Hooked and booked? That's catchy, right?" When no one said anything, the demon produced a stone tablet as if from nowhere. I have a better one somewhere here in my notes. You are saying you brought us here because of sin? Inkaro prompted, gently. He lowered his tablet a moment. Right. Yeah. I've been laying on this idea for a few centuries that if we have the right variety and selection of sin, we'll be able to rope in even more humans. Something more compelling than that love thy neighbor nonsense. He gestured to us. And that, my friends, is where you come in. The man at the end of the row held his head in his hands and mumbled, 30 years for this. The demon pushed on like he hadn't heard him. Your job is to reflect on humanity's greatest weak points. As humans, you're the ideal candidates for the task. He smirked. And obviously, since you're coming in at the ground floor, we'd let you in on a cut of the company. Is that good? Asked the woman flatly. Oh, trust me, hell's gonna be huge. Everyone's gonna be showing up here. But we can discuss all those finer contractual points later. I have some questions, her husband started, but Beals shushed him. Don't doubt yourselves. You were born and you died for this task. No one but you could do it better. He stood up and pushed away his chair. It disappeared back into the ether. I need each of you to come up with a compelling and unique deadly sin by the end of the week, all right? Or I'm gonna have to throw you into the lake of fire and wait for someone else. They all stared at him, faces blank as tombstones. Beals beamed and clapped at them, reassuringly. I believe in you, team! And then he was gone, leaving the 7 deadly sins to give themselves their new names. Our second and last story today is written by Rarely Funny. I had little doubt as to who he was. He quivered constantly. These little trembles which accentuated his gestures infected his speech, not from fear or from hesitation, but from power, brimming beyond the confines of his skin, threatening to burst out in torrents. The others were already enthralled, nodding along to the sway of his honeyed words. I, too, had every reason to agree with him. Any logical, rational man would have said yes. But that was not who I was. No, I said. I refuse. An angry scowl settled on his face before he threw his head back, and he laughed so hard that volcanoes erupted in the distance. The others huddled together instinctively. You refuse, he said. No one in my domain has ever refused me before. I don't care, I said. I do not want to become one of your sins, whatever it is you want. He swept his hands in a flourish, drawing my attention to the others. They numbered 6, and sat around him cross-legged on the ground, like attentive toadstools relishing the first drops of rain. That sickened me, so I had to look away. Why, it is an honor! I've handpicked the 7 of you, just the 7, the worst, most deplorable beings I could scour from the face of the earth. The game has begun. Both sides have to have their champions. Do you not understand any of what I had explained? I understood, I said as I shrugged, but I still refuse. But do you not see, my boy? The 7 of you will be my prime evils. I'll name you the 7 deadly sins. Men and women will speak your names in disgust for centuries to come. Look at them. They've already begun to lose their forms. They are already shifting into the essence of their new callings. He was right about that. One of the women, already delicate of feature to begin with, had been blossoming as I argued with him, Her lips had grown fuller, her hair more voluminous, her waist more inviting. She commanded my attention, filled me with a longing I had never known before. If she had looked me in the eye at that very moment, I would have likely lost my nerve and caved to his demands. I had to stay strong. "You will not be able to convince me," I said. "You could break me, I'm sure of that. But I also know that is not what you're after. You want my acquiescence, and that you will never have. So, if you're going to unmake me, go ahead." "But why?" he asked, as the first ripples of doubt spread across his brows. The emotion must have been new for him. "You have single-handedly caused so much pain and suffering on Earth, and yet you refuse to take your place beside me? Why?" I thought for a while before I found the words. It wasn't easy to express. "Because they will know me then," I said. "I don't want to be known. I was happy where I was, and if death had not found me, I wouldn't be here now. I like to be hidden." "Hidden?" "Yes, hidden," I said. "Concealed, disguised, veiled. I don't belong in the light. I want to be in the shadows, in the fleeting darkness between every waking moment, just barely out of sight. I want to whisper in people's ears, make them doubt themselves, make them doubt each other. I want to find out what they truly believe in, what their principles are, and then I want to work at corrupting every single thing they stand for. I want to make them turn against each other, against themselves. I want them to abandon order, even if they know it's for their own good. And if I am known, if I am named, I can no longer do any of that." A ghost of a smile had begun to curl his lips, and the manic energy was returning to him. "Ah," he said, "you want to be rebellion, the unnamed, unrecognized sin." I waited for him to make his decision. He nodded, finally, and then beckoned me behind him. I slipped into the dimness immediately, and his aura washed over me, masking me, erasing me from sight. I saw him exert his energies, summon the next human in line to take my place. Soon, there were 7, and they became the 7 that were known. After they had departed, off to carry out his bidding, he turned to me again. "You still have to have a name," he said. "Uasi," I replied. Thanks again for listening to The Fiction Room. If you like what you heard, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. It really does help us. But for now, stay safe out there, everyone. See you next time.